This is The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel, and this episode of The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of is brought to you by Heritage Auctions, who, as we speak, has a great original comic art auction going on, and I am paying attention to it nonstop and will be phasing in and out of this conversation because I'm waiting for them to get to, there's a really cool, did you ever read the Alan Moore Swamp Thing
Yes.
run? There's an incredible page from issue 53, which is the Swamp Thing goes to Gotham. If you remember those stories where he goes to Gotham and fights Batman, basically. And it's John Toddleman art, and there's a gorgeous piece of Batman with a flamethrower and Swamp Thing. And I have a page or two from that story, and whenever I see one, I try and go after it. So there's one coming up, so I've got my eye on that. So brought to you by Heritage Auctions, props and comic art and sports memorabilia and so much more. They sold a book, a Superman, like an Action 1 for like $6 million. $6 million.
I think it's the best CGC'd one ever.
Crazy
if that's possible. But that, I mean, to me, my brain does not compute how original comic art has not gotten to that level yet. Comic books have. And look, I understand it's Action Comics, and how many of Action Comics #1s are there in the world? But
I mean, comic art is one of one, but it is interesting. It is a different thing. I mean, look, some comic art has gone crazy. There have been some $1 million sales, but fewer and far between. I feel like there was like a $5 million sale or something like that, $4 or $5 million sales. And then obviously there's pieces that, who knows what would happen if they ever actually came to market. But I don't know.
This is a show about props, but in your mind, what is that? What is the sort of ruby slippers of comic art? Is there a thing?
Well, I mean, there's things that have never been seen. I think certainly if people, we know, for example, that Amazing Fantasy 15 is at the Library of Congress. So that's the first, the first whatever of Spider-Man.
So that'll never see the light
That's
of
never
day.
going to come out.
Yeah.
They don't have that cover. We don't know if that ever exists. They don't, we don't know where some of those other early Spidey or early covers are. X-Men 1 is out there. Pages have sold. Fantastic Four #1 is rumored to be out there, but never been seen. I think that would certainly be something special if that were to sort of
cover or the whole issue.
Either or. Again, the early covers seem to be fewer and far between for a variety of reasons. So even just if a page from Fantastic Four showed itself, I think that would be something. Yeah. So welcome to Comic Art Chat. Let's bring
on Felix. Get his opinion.
Exactly. Just permanent co-host. Yeah. But so I am watching this, and I apologize.
So
to our
is
viewers.
the phone going to ring while we're broadcasting?
No,
here?
I'm going to just bid. I'm just going to, if it happens, you'll see me tapping. Yeah.
I'll just interview myself while this
exactly.
is going.
Just vamp. Okay. Just vamp. Just that's your window for Ryan 10. Just a Ryan 10 commercial.
Very good. Very good.
Like that. Yeah.
I'll do the live read during that.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Because this is being recorded and it'll be long after. What is your high on this page, Dave?
I don't know. I mean, I was looking, and they seem to be selling for up to about 15,000. I might chase a little bit past that. I'd like to get it. I don't know how else to say that other than that way. So it's a tough one. I don't want to break the bank, but at the same time, I would really like to own it. It's something I'd like to add to my collection.
Will this be your favorite Swamp Thing page if you do get it?
I don't know if it'll be my favorite, but like I said, I have a couple from that issue, and it will kind of, I don't think I'm ever going to quote unquote put that issue together. I think that's madness to think like that, to complete an issue, certainly in this day and age. But it's probably, I don't know if it's one of my absolute favorite, like just Alan Moore stories, because it was that moment where he took all the cool stuff he was doing on Swamp Thing and then just fucking added Batman to it. And you just kind of went, for all the credit he gets for obviously, Watchmen and all the things he should get credit for. When this guy sat down and decided to, occasionally do, like a Batman story, be a Killing Joke, or like I said, this thing, or a Superman story, they were so damn good. I mean, he really, really had a grip on superhero stuff. So, not exactly what's new in props, but, but Heritage Auctions, Heritage Comics, and part of the collecting insanity. Yeah. Do you my what's new in props, which is not much of a what's new in props, is I did do a big I did a run to Heritage. By the way, speaking of Heritage, our sponsors, heritageauctionsaj.com, and they're going to be doing a big Star Wars auction, I believe, on for the May the 4th, and that's going to be coming up. And I found in my closet, did I tell you this? I found all these uncut sets of.
You gave them all your Jackie Chan posters for May the 4th?
No, I did. I'm still holding on. I'm clinging to those. Those are very special. Those are at least 5 years worth of birthday gifts for you. I found a whole bunch of these uncut sets of the Star Wars Topps cards from back in the day, so I gave them all to them. So
you did.
I did tell you that. So that is officially delivered, and that is my what's new in props, which is to say, I keep giving them more things to cover my bill. So that's a good news.
How's
that's
that going? By the way,
slowly but surely.
Are you happy with progress?
Yes, I think I'm about halfway there, which is a lot, but yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Great.
How about you? Anything new in props?
Well, I do have a new thing, Dave, but I can't really talk about it. But I think it's a great segue into our topic tonight. So last week, I've been working on this for a little while. I made a private deal, and it's a piece that I'm
private deal.
We're gonna have our
private deal.
We should
have
the
reaction you were looking for?
We should have the button that we push for the.
I know we don't have like morning DJ buttons.
We need Bart to get a drops board for us.
Exactly.
The whammy button.
Fred from the Stern Show.
Yeah.
Bomb, bomb, private deal. Bomb, 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 bomb. Private deal, motherfucker.
Maybe we could get like a Arlie Ermy sort of thing. He said, when he's screaming private pile or
private deal.
That's right.
The only thing private should be deals and something from Texas, steers and queers. I don't know.
Fantastic.
That's my
golf ball through a garden hose. There you go. So it's a piece from I will simply say a
recent
very
cinema.
Unlike me.
Can I say that? Recent cinema?
It's a modern film, and that's very near and dear to my heart. And I picked this up, or am picking it up. I don't actually have it in possession yet, but it's a private deal, and it's a private deal because it has to be a private deal because of what it is and where it came from and how and why and whatever. But the point is, it's real, which I think is the sticking point for me.
Boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So very excited, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to talk about it, show it, whatever. But until then, it remains private. And if you get a visit up to this fine office, you will be able to see it. But only for those lucky folks, unfortunately, for now. But we did promise after.
Real is this week's word of the week. Real. Continue. Yes,
that's right. We did promise after our last episode about fakes and all the skullduggery that's going on in our fine hobby to come back and talk more, because it really did hit a nerve. I mean, we really did rattle some cages and upset some people and get some people sort of clenching a little tighter than they usually do. And we promised we wanted to come back and talk about it, because I think before we wanted to address it because it was sort of the elephant in the room, and had been affecting our hobby for a good amount of time now. And I think it just keeps getting sort of uglier and worse as we go, particularly as it pertains to modern films. I just want to say, like, recent stuff. And we wanted to come back and talk about it, and talk, I think, not only about what's going on with the fakes and what to look for, and not just to scare everybody, but also to go back to the beginning and kind of talk about what's real and how we authenticate things. And I think we should talk about that, because we do get a lot of feedback in the email, and we recorded our live episode earlier tonight, where there was a lot of people coming in saying, how do you know this is real? Who do I talk to authenticate this and that? So to me, Dave, unless there's somewhere else you wanted to go, let's begin with the positive. Let's begin with like how you authenticate things. And for me, it's very simple, guys. You have to go onto your computer, presuming everybody that does this hobby has access to a computer, and you have to download the film. And I don't mean illegally. I mean, get a copy of the film. And then you have to go look at the film and look at the piece that you're trying to buy.
But I will say, just to interrupt for 4 seconds, there are some wonderful screen grab sites that have already done the work for you, especially if you're talking about,
very true,
dare I say, the big genre movies movies, your Star Warses, your Star Treks, your Jim Camerons, your Raiders and whatnot, you can find these sites. Just do the screen grab, screen cap as a Google search, and you will find these sites where they have already done the work for you of frame by frame 4K 4K screen grabs, TIFF files, whatever. And so half the work is already done for you. So the fact that you're not looking is half the battle. You know what I mean? It's just, just go and look. It's already there for you. And sorry, continue. I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah, and that's so
convenient.
That's a great point, because I actually don't go to that well enough, and I need to start doing that. The other thing you can do is, and I look, I'm not endorsing piracy or anything like that. David and I are both work in this business. We very much like when people pay for the things they buy. But if you've bought a copy of the film, you own the film. There are pieces of software that you can go to once you own an official digital copy.
And again, we're talking about buying your own copy and then using it as you see fit, not selling it yes, exactly,
or giving it away or anything for your personal use. There are ways, because of copy protection, you cannot take a screenshot of your Apple Movies window. It will just come up blank. But there is software that you can seek out there that will take that movie that you bought and basically convert it into a screenshotable file that you can play in a different movie player and take screenshots from. So that's another way to do it. The movies that I collect from the most, I have copies of the high quality 4K copies of each of those movies. I've bought those movies many times through my life on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and now 4K, probably in the digital store as well. So I have no strain on my conscience over it. That is
no. In fact, I feel like if I were going to sell 4K grabs from Star Wars, I think they would still be ahead of me money-wise, based on the sheer number of laser discs, Betamax, VHS, multiple VHSs, multiple laser discs, multiple DVDs, multiple Blu-rays,
tops, cards,
exactly,
sheets. Yeah. Yeah.
Jackie Chan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
All the Star Wars, from A to Jackie Chan, all the Star Wars.
And I understand this is very intimidating, all this stuff. And part of this is the barrier to entry to this hobby. Dave's other hobby, comic art collecting, it's just much clearer and cleaner. It's like, I love that comic book. There's the page. It's so clear that there's one of these things. That's the one. Here it is. Go look at the page. Is there anything that tells you that it's off? You can match one to the other. Very easy to do. This is a little trickier, and it depends on the prop that you're looking at and all that. But it really comes down to this very simple thing of just going and looking at the thing that you're seeing on the screen, and looking at the thing that's in the auction listing or that you're holding in your hand, and saying, what's different here? What is not the same?
And let's go on a legal limb for 4 seconds, which is to say, a prop shows up, you go to match it. It does not match any of the appearances in whatever the movie is. It's in 3 different scenes and it doesn't match. Is it possible that it's still from that movie? Well, I guess legally speaking, we can't say it isn't possible. However, if it truly doesn't match any moment in the movie and any getting into publicity stills and all of these things, I guess it's possible, but I wouldn't want to buy it. I would want to buy something that matches all of them.
Yes.
And so
when you say match, Dave, I think we should be specific. Yeah. It's not screen match, because that's a different thing.
Yes, I want to be really clear. We're not talking about there's that scratch. I'm talking about you're looking at something, a weapon, a gun or something, and the one you have has a weird bump and all the ones in the movie are smooth, or vice versa. There's
a
problem
blue box
there.
on the side of it,
exactly.
and there is not on the one that you see on screen.
Yes. And that's a problem. There's a reason for that. And it is a reason that has bested the best of us. I mean, even if you looked at that last Greg Jean auction, the Greg Jean Part 2, that was them selling his big box of fake phasers. There were Mark English phasers and all these fake phasers. And oddly enough, if you can remember from our chat with Rob Klein, there was a Phaser 1 that originally was put into the fake box, and then they realized, and I think Rob helped them kind of go, I think that one's real. And again, why do we think it's real? Because it again, are we 100% sure? Is there a screen match in the sense of like an actual screen match? No, there isn't. But all the pieces and parts of it match up with the known examples and the way they look on screen. And that's what you're looking for. Use common sense at some point or another. If the axe head of a shining axe is radically different than all the axes in the movie, then it's probably not from the Shining movie, and it may sometimes an axe is just an axe. And I think I don't know what it is, almost like a willingness to be convinced that because somehow it's in an auction catalog or being offered on a prop website or being offered by somebody that for whatever reason you think is a good guy or whatever the reason, whatever you're looking for, it's almost like we're trying to convince ourselves. We want it to be real. And I do think you have to have sort of that doubting Thomas viewpoint of like, I don't know, prove to me it is real. And that's just in general of every prop I've ever tried to buy. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very good distillation of this. And I really think I understand the intimidation and it's hard and how do you do, but it really, with a lot of this stuff, guys, it's actually sad and laughable how easy it is often to
pieces
disidentify things.
Yeah, we have seen things in these last 3 auctions where you can kind of go through and just, if you just turn the movie on, you would go, that ain't right. I mean, it's not, oh, I had to dig through PR photos from an old issue of Dynamite magazine. We're talking about, there's the gun, that ain't right. This thing's got a big round thing on it. It ain't there. It doesn't, it's not there. I wish,
Yeah. And again, this is not on the, I mean, it sits with the auction houses to authenticate these things and vet what's coming through. And I also think the thing that I've been really, drumming on about, and we'll do again here, is that the auction houses need to vet the people that are consigning to them. I think that's the big thing. And just, if there's a problematic person, why are you taking consignments from them, good or bad or otherwise? Because at some point you're going to get fooled. And if you haven't been already, I mean, that's the simple truth of the matter. And the thing is, there are things that come through that are just clearly not right. And anybody that takes the time to bring up the film or bring up the screen grab or whatever can probably also see that too. At least see enough to go, something isn't quite right here. And I'm telling you again, this stuff is being done intentionally to deceive, intentionally to defraud. And it's vertically integrated. There is a cabal going on. Too much money has come into this business, into this hobby, whatever you want to call it. And there are bad actors that are exploiting it to separate you from your money, unfortunately. And there's integration going on, and these things are unfortunately, there's an assembly line, and these things are being made, particularly the stuff from the modern films.
I was about to say the modern films present an even harder challenge, because I do think some of these things are coming from prop shops that are perhaps involved. And, look, I grew up in New York City, and there was a guy on the corner of 65th and Broadway that had New Balance sneakers. And they were coming from the factory that probably made New Balance sneakers. Do you know what I mean? Just they weren't necessarily ones being given to New Balance. Do you know what I mean? And that's a problem. Now, if you're buying a sneaker and you're getting a sneaker for, like $50 that should be $70, well, okay, that's okay that they're not official New Balance sneakers.
Does it fit?
Make your peace with that. You know what I mean? However, when you're talking about whatever it is, a Marvel helmet or whatnot, I don't know. I think it's a problem. I think it's a real problem, especially
it's a huge problem.
If you're being sold something that you think is quote unquote screen used, where it may match up perfectly, but again, I think you have to start asking yourself about what, again, does it? Because again, as I think we showed with a couple of the pieces I showed up with, like those Jyn Erso pieces, they don't match. And that's my own stupid fault. And I just sort of accepted it at face value. It wasn't a ridiculous number. And it's on me. It's on me. And I'm certainly doing a better job of that now myself. And so we all fall for it. If that helps anyone, I guess I'll simply say my own failures should inspire you to do better. I know they are inspiring me. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but let's talk about Wrath of Khan for a second. Why not, Ryan?
Yeah.
Right? So if you guys can see behind Ryan right now, there is a Wrath of Khan phaser that basically used to be mine that I thought was a stunt pistol that we are now not sure is a stunt pistol. Like we now think it may not match enough to be an actual stunt pistol and maybe a fake stunt pistol. And this is not something that was sold to us, privately. This came out of an auction house. There was another one that matches this one, but doesn't match the other one. And we're in the middle of investigating this thing. But the larger point here, though, is it's not all about these secret deals. It's just about things that people were making. And maybe originally they weren't even made to fool someone. They were just simply made because maybe you couldn't find the real one. We don't have the answer.
Yeah,
we don't know.
In this case, it's a bit muddy. We know that Greg made stuff. We know that Greg made stuff for fun. I mean, he was a builder. He made stuff. We know Wrath of Khan was one of his favorite Trek movies, or if not his favorite Trek movie. He had real phasers and possibly made others, and we wonder whether this was actually one that, again, not intended to defraud, but just got lost in the shuffle. And that's the problem, having these close to real but not replicas or fakes or whatever made that get into the ecosystem. They go in with the intent to defraud, and then they get washed and re-auctioned in this auction, and they end up in they were in a legit collector's collection. They were in Dave's collection. And when I wanted a stunt phaser, I just said, hey, you just won the Hero from the Greg Jean auction. Can I buy your stunt off you? He said, sure. And I, admittedly, it's on me, I didn't do the research.
But also on me. And again, easy enough because it's two guys that are good friends and all of that kind of nonsense. And obviously I'm not giving Ryan his money back, and I will see him in court, needless to say. But the point being is,
we're on an hour delay right now being interpreted through our lawyers.
Yeah, we're not actually, well, I was about to say we're not in the same room, but we're not in the same Zoom. I'm talking with a stand-in, and my words are being relayed to Ryan.
There's a surrogate.
We don't look at each other. But the point being is, it's hard enough on a movie from 30 years ago where you can sort of see issues on things. And then that much harder if you're talking about, I don't know, one of the new Star Trek shows where things are being more mass produced, more 3D printed, and all of that kind of stuff, where it just becomes that much harder. And there are active props that I know we joke about that are being ruined, which is to say, there are real hammers from Thor 2. I want to be really clear about that. There are real hammers from Thor 2. There, unfortunately, are a million not real ones. And what do you do with that? And I think in the last group of auctions, we're seeing this with some of the Back to the Future stuff, where there has been so much fake Back to the Future stuff. And by definition, a lot of those paper props were mass produced to begin with. We've seen photos from the prop guy of how many sports almanacs there were to begin with. So when you take the sheer number that were actually made for production and then add in all the fake ones and whatnot, nobody knows what to do. And so the fakes are just polluting things enough where no one's quite sure. And so we're seeing wild swings in numbers where I think people believed Planet Hollywood and paid crazy money for the Planet Hollywood one, but were more suspicious of ones that are not in Planet Hollywood auctions. And again, it's because the water is polluted. It's just, you don't want to be swimming, a mile down from the fucking nuclear power plant, or where, like a sewer is pouring into the river. That's the problem. It may not look like you're swimming in shit, but you are. And that is the problem in a nutshell.
Well said.
And I think, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and as for the reason why, I was talking to some very knowledgeable collectors out here recently. We had a kind of summit together, and this was one of the big topics of discussion. And there were lots of names being bandied about that we will not be airing on the podcast, but the names are all the same names everybody is aware of and hearing. And there's a thought as to, because the question I asked is like, how is this happening, right? How is it going on? Because it seems to be coming out from the source. It doesn't seem to be being, it's not a guy in his garage in like Silmar, right, making these things. It's coming from an official source. And
it's coming from inside the house. We trace the call. It's coming from inside the house.
Exactly. And what we've been able to sort of divine from what we've seen and what's going on, because again, these things aren't that clever. They don't maybe pass the initial sight test, but they don't pass the smell test when you get close enough, and you subject them to close inspection and compare them to real things that have sold, that have provenance, that have a screen match. I mean, that's the thing I would say. If you're buying a Marvel helmet, go find an auction where they sold one that is purported to be a match, and look at that one, look at the detailed photos on that, and compare it to the one that you're bidding on. But there are details that are wrong on these, that are kind of quickly identifiable. And the way I would put it, it's hard to encapsulate, but the way I would say it is they're not quite up to snuff with the movie made ones. And there are things that are off and unfinished and not quite done right and done sort of shoddily. And the reasoning that somebody gave me who would know this very well is that when these things are made, when a Captain America shield is made, there are many different disciplines going into the making of that shield. There's the guy working the metal. There's the guy doing the paint. There's the guy doing the metal work. The leather work that goes on the back of the shield. And what seems to be happening with these fakes that are coming out is there is not the assembly line that makes them for the movie.
Right. You're getting like one of
the guys in the line,
duplicate everybody else's
trying to do the leather guy's work. The paint guy is doing the leather guy's work, or the guy making, because some of the paint jobs are pretty bad. So I'm guessing the main painter is not involved with this. It's the mold guy or whatever it is. And that's the reason that what is coming out is not quite right, not quite done, does not match up to the thing you see on the film or the thing that you see in the auction that you know is correct. And that's the thing that I would be on the lookout for, because again, when you actually look at these things, they're not that good. They're not that clever. It just requires that closer look. And you don't have to be a super movie sleuth collector guy like Dave and I. You just have to care enough to take a second look at it.
I'm terrible at it. I mean, I was making a joke earlier. We were recording something else, and it's like, I got to go pick up my new glasses. Like, I can, it's like, I'm awful at it. I am the worst screen matcher in the world, but like, I kind of take my glasses off. I get very close to the screen and I get going. And it's just this kind of thing where you just go, that ain't there, or why is that there? And you can see these things, these things. The other thing I will say about, and again, this is not a perfect rule, but I will say this, which is when things are used on movies, they rarely roll off the set in perfect, working condition. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. And again, it's not a tried and true rule, but I mean, I think about I don't know, my pulse rifle, there are pieces missing. Do you know what I mean? There's scratches on it. You know what I mean?
You have a spite piece missing, Dave.
Yeah, no, exactly. A piece that was taken on purpose from someone else. But the funny thing being that that's what it should be. That's the easiest way I can express it, is that's what it should be. If you find a mask, again, whatever it is, like a latex mask or something, you want paint coming off of it. You want it in shitty condition. You want it a little dried out. It's almost like my alarm goes off when it's replica new. And I know that's not a guideline of like, oh my God, it's new, it can't be real. I'm just saying there's a little bit of common sense to looking at pieces and kind of going, if this is screen used from a Marvel movie, from a battle scene, why does it look so perfect?
Why is my stunt hammer in perfect condition?
Yes.
We've heard that the Marvel stuff is beat to hell. The stuff that actually gets used is beat to hell. It's sent back to the shop. It's repainted. It's fixed. It's sent back out there. There should be signs and tells of use on there. And the things that I look for are the odd little, like, why is that on there? We talked in the last episode about the Hocus Pocus book that I won at auction for the family. There's a screw in the middle of the back of the book. There's just
it reminded me oddly of your old Grail cup with the Grail screw.
Cup, yes, with the ball bearing.
Yeah.
And it's like you look at the thing and you're like, well, that's probably real, because who's casting the book and then putting the screw that they used on set in there to hold it onto the display board. I mean, you just want to look for those little tells that seem to scream to you, this thing that's something that somebody making a fraudulent one wouldn't take the care and time to duplicate.
And and in more well-known props, if we start getting into like original series Star Trek or just something like, again, we're going back to the 60s, which, there's an entire, industry built around, trying to authenticate, phasers and communicators. And there's websites devoted to it. And I've spent a lot of time. There's a set coming up. I certainly looked at the Greg ones. There's another set coming up, I think, in an upcoming Julian's auction. Where you're looking for certain things that are known about various mechanisms and whatnot and the way things work. And, again, in the world where you're not going to get a perfect screen match, you want to see these things and go, this is how it should be. And so you're looking for things like that. And also these are things that aren't on the other ones. And that's a problem too. Again, it works both ways. And again, every prop is different, but you do need to be looking for these things. And the big problem, and this was a funny thing, and again, I don't want to turn this into a diatribe against any of the sort of the I guess, forgive me, the perpetrators. There was a lot of like, well, you've bought stuff. You're absolutely right. And I have real things that I've gotten from some of these sources. And I think I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. It makes it worse. It's the real things are the problem, because I did get some real stuff, and then I've also gotten some fake stuff. And I do think the real stuff is real. I still believe it's real. I've checked it out. However, again, it's just the water is muddied, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and I bought stuff too. I bought stuff. I will admit. I mean, I bought stuff too that I have that, and now since I don't have anymore, not because it was fake, because it was real, and that's why I bought it. And I just, time moved on. I needed to raise money for other things. We were moving country, and I couldn't take everything with me. The stuff got moved on and sold. That's not the problem. I mean, there always is this gray or sort of black market with this stuff. It exists. Dave and I have participated in it. We're not saying that our noses are clean and we've never dealt.
We're not innocent. We've just, enough is enough, I guess.
We don't make fake shit. That's where our noses are clean. Yeah. We don't make and peddle in and deal and defraud and make fake shit. This is the stuff dreams are made of.
No, we already did that part. This is an ad.
Okay. When buying entertainment and collectibles, do you worry about fakes? Well, if you purchase your items through Prop Store, you have protection. Many auction houses offer certificates.
Wait, are you saying no more private deals? Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Well, that's what we're paid to say, Dave.
Right.
Many auction houses have certificates of authenticity that they offer with your purchase, but in the world of props and costumes, there are no third-party grading systems. There's only one COA that actually means something: the Prop Store COA. Whether you're a buyer or seller, the Prop Store COA adds value to your entertainment collectible and helps you know that what you're purchasing isn't a fake, in quotes.
That being said, it would be great if some of the fake sellers started offering fake COAs. That would be just kind of funny. But like, it would just be like, it'd be like, here's something from Rogue One, but here's a COA saying it's an Iron Man helmet. That would just make no sense. Back to Prop Store. The industry standard.
Replicated COA.
Yeah. The industry standard. Prop Store's COA is considered the gold standard in the world of entertainment memorabilia and certifies that the item you are purchasing comes from a trusted source and that Prop Store has, quote unquote, done their research. Oh, nice. To confirm that it's authentic.
Money-back guarantees. Prop Store COA actually comes with a money-back guarantee, while others do not. That means, down the line, if a buyer demonstrates that the guarantee of attribution is materially incorrect, Prop Store repays the original purchase price to the buyer.
I'm guessing that the word materially means more than we think, but still, that's a pretty good offer.
That's a very loaded word, yeah.
I'm not a lawyer. I just think materially does mean something, but still, no one's even saying that with or without materially, so that's pretty good. Transferable. The COA is transferable to each new owner of the piece throughout its lifetime, and each of those new owners will also enjoy the security of its guarantee. Each COA comes with a serial number and photo that is registered with Prop Store's database. If you buy an item with a Prop Store COA, you can always call or write Prop Store to confirm the item's authenticity. That's pretty good too. So when you're buying or selling entertainment memorabilia, would you want another auction house's COA or Prop Store? We think the choice is clear. Go to propstore.com to find out more about Prop Store's guarantee of attribution and find out how to buy and sell through Prop Store.
And don't forget to go to propstore.com today and place a buy now order using one of our exclusive discount codes and vote for your favorite Stuff Dreams Are Made Of podcast host at the same time. So use Dave10 to vote for Dave or Dave10 to vote for Dave. Because let's face it, he needs the votes. And get 10% off your entire buy now purchase.
That's how cocky Ryan is right now, is he's doing ads for me, knowing that you, our viewers, are going to vote for him anyway.
Wait, Dave, wait until you see my what's new in props. And get 10% off your entire buy now purchase now through the end of the season. Support Prop Store and the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of by making your buy now purchase today at propstore.com.
It's been very interesting, and and then we'll move back into just talking about like what to do. But it's been very funny. A couple of our friends, exactly. A couple of our friends, sorry, I'm bidding on one other piece that I'm going to just throw a bid on. Sorry, hold on.
You guys are getting the full.
Yeah. You're getting this is a different piece that I didn't.
This is any conversation with David Mandel. It doesn't matter what time of day or night.
All right, I'm going to go one more bid. Here.
Bidding is happening.
Yeah. This is a Todd McFarlane Infinity Ink piece, which was
that's cool.
That I really like. This is an ad piece. It's at $9,000. I'm going to bid one more time. And I was outbid. Okay, I'm walking away from that. I've been outbid. I'm walking away. I turned off the live bidding, and that's such is life. So it is now at $10,000. You're welcome, seller. I drove it up a little bit, but
there you go.
I liked it, but not that much. So I apologize.
I did a little bidding this weekend, Dave, actually. I bid on that Weapon X piece.
Oh, you did?
I did not win it.
It went.
Yeah, I had two bids, and it went. You saw it went cuckoo crazy, and I keep. It's that thing where I keep towing on the side, and like, if I'm going to get in, I got to get in, and what's coming up this year, and am I going to regret having a bunch of money into this when the summer auction stuff comes out? And I don't know. But anyway, there it goes.
There's
but
too many.
I did some bidding.
No, good for you. But there are too many collectibles in the world.
Yes.
What I was going to point out is it was very funny. A couple of people tried to post some of our discussion on the first Fakes episode on some of the prop websites, and and
oddly the our discussion was poorly recast and put out there with a lot of flaws in it.
Well, sure, certainly people summing it up, but
it's a replica joke, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was actually more.
You were just
angry.
thinking about.
I was just angry. No, I was just angry.
You were thinking about
honestly.
Swamp Thing.
Exactly. It's coming up. No, I was honestly just angry. It just was very funny. It was just like someone described it as, it's like the shitty politician getting caught with his hand in the till, and just, the best defense is a good offense. So it was just attack.
What
links
about
being taken down.
Yeah.
What about? Yeah. Why can't this discussion be had? Again, forget about, we've gone out of our way not to name names, but why can't the discussion be had that there are fakes in our hobby? Why can't we have that discussion that there are fakes? I mean, just the fact that you don't want to have that discussion, I have a real problem with that. And that's, I don't know, that just to wherever to cast that. And I think if you're on a Facebook group and you're not allowed to have that discussion, you should check out like why can't we have this discussion?
And who's running that group and
who's running that group
problem?
And whatever. And I'll simply say this, no seller is perfect. I think even our various hosts, or I should say sponsors, Prop Store, Heritage, they have sold things and taken them back. They have pulled items from auction. They maybe they need to do it more so, but nobody's perfect. But it's when all of a sudden you discount the possibility that there are fakes. I think there's the problem. There is a huge problem. And it is, I think it's only getting worse as the money gets crazier. And there's so much of this stuff now, unfortunately. It's 10 years of bad sort of recent, Mouse House, giant franchises that had just these fake factories being made, and now it's all washed into the same water. There's good stuff out there, yes. There's official charity stuff that's gone to auction, yes, and then there's a ton of bad stuff. But it's funny, even with Star Wars, again, where my certainly sort of maybe over hyper focus, there are these helmets floating around out there, that are allegedly production made. Again, no one's saying screen use, production made, production made. What does that mean? Well, I don't know. Some of them are pieces where these molds have been floating around for 10 or 20 years. What does that mean? Does someone make it later? Did they cast it back then and paint it later? I don't have an answer, and I'm not poo-pooing any individual item. I'm just simply saying, if I'm buying a piece that was basically done after the fact and painted 20 years after that fact, I want to know that is what I'm buying and that's what the price is. But I don't want to be told I'm buying something that was from Empire Strikes Back if it's not from Empire Strikes Back. And when you start getting into these things with molds and paints and whatnot, it gets harder because those molds can be the molds in that case. I mean, those molds have sold in auction. And again, they are in the hands, I think, of people that aren't making them right now, but whose hands have they been in? And again, this is where it gets tough when you start getting to sort of fakes from the sources. And it's just frustrating. It's just beyond frustrating at some point. And it's funny, I'm just stopping. I mean, I know we've already talked about this, but, even this week, someone contacted me about a set of armor from The Force Awakens. And I actually don't, how does one say this? I actually think it was actually okay. I from what I could tell, it wasn't that. I mean, it just, again, on one level, I'm done with all of these movies because I don't care anymore. But also, I'm not an expert enough. And I certainly, again, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just simply saying, no, I'm just not interested. I don't know enough. And I'm not going to touch things I don't know about. Yeah.
Knowing what you do know, your brain first goes to, I have to prove this is real versus I have to find out whether this is not right.
It's almost just like you have to walk into every prop piece. I think just assuming it's not right. Assume it's not right, as opposed to I think we've been conditioned. There's something about especially again with a catalog. There's something about a catalog that you just kind of go like. And by the way, there's something about a catalog, and there's also something about the nature of the private deal where it's so good, it's that I can't offer it to other people. It's like the want to buy a watch, like it's a bargain, it's a something, but it's the secret assignation of it that almost kind of lends it the reality. And I guess all I can say is wake up. I don't know what else to say. Sometimes they are real. That's the worst part. But assume they're fake. Assume everything is fake. And they can't be making that many Thor hammers. They can't be making that many Iron Man helmets. They can't be making.
It's not possible.
It's just not possible. Even with the billions and the reshoots, it's just not happening.
Sheer logic dictates. Yeah. And I mean, we're bouncing around a bit.
The rage is seeping out, but go on.
But it's all good because it's all good to put out there and for people to hear. But I really do think your best weapon is your eyes. Really, it is. You just go and do the work and pull the screen grab, particularly from these. If you want to collect from these modern films, go ahead. Be our guest. You can get really great because these are modern made films shot on digital, probably shot at a higher resolution than they're actually being
they're probably shot like some kind of like 12,000 or something. I mean, numbers we don't even know about.
I think we shoot at 6K, Dave. I think Hot D is future protected, so I think we actually film at 6K and then down res to 4K for the output. Which means that we can actually, when we need to, we can blow up a shot and all sorts of digital tricks that you can do. But there's an incredible amount of detail saved on those 4K discs, in particular, and then the digital files. Just go in and look at it and start there. And if that tells you that it's right, that's great. That's a check in the box. And then I would go online. There's this massive online community. Seek out the known experts in this stuff, and ask them. But don't get their private email addresses, but the collecting community is small. Say, hey, do you know a guy who does, who's a big Trek guy? Do you know a big Marvel guy? Can you put me in touch? And people actually, collectors do like to help out other collectors where they can. And particularly when somebody comes in having done a bunch of research, not just saying, how do you know it's real? But hey, right. I'm looking at this, Guardians of the Galaxy
this
gun.
doesn't make sense to me, or I noticed something. What do you think?
Can you tell me how many of these are out there? I heard you owned one, those sorts of things. And those people will help you out. Seek them out on Facebook. It's a really positive community generally when everybody's not, at each other's throats about, fakes and this and that and, whatever auction prices are too high and blah, 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 blah. It does come from a place of passion. So I think start with your eyes and then try to go find the experts. And, Dave and I have been doing this long enough that we essentially, everything that we collect, there's a person to go to who knows that world, that universe. I'm the guy that everybody phones up when something Conan comes along. And not that I, have any special knowledge. It's just I've handled a bunch of it. I've been around enough of it. I've owned a bunch of it that I can do the smell test for you essentially. But the nice thing about Conan is generally you don't have to worry about there being a bunch of replicas out there because, well, I mean, other than the mass manufactured Albion replicas, which are another thing, there are no sort of stunt Conan sword replicas floating around.
Right.
Generally yet. Although there have been a lot of destroyer swords, which I think is another issue. But that's Destroyer, not Conan the Barbarian, not the film that you should be collecting from, which is the first one.
It's funny. I was thinking a lot about Lord of the Rings recently, in that there were a bunch of real props from that movie that were out there because there were those contests. You remember the contests where they basically not auctioned off. It was like a raffle, I think. You could enter and win. Yeah, you could enter and win.
Did it, right? The toy
was that
company?
Who did it? Yeah, like through the toy company. And you could win, and they had 10 different things,
real
swords
props,
and whatnot. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Real props. And then there were other ones that were connected to the various vendors, like some of the replica makers, where they were sent to Sideshow, they were sent to the sword
United
maker,
Cutlery.
whatever it was. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And what was really interesting was back in the day when there was that big Lord of the Rings auction of the guy who had kind of collected these things.
Yeah.
Each one of those pieces, there was a direct line to the person that won the contest and then to the contest itself. And it was a really fascinating thing because it was a giant, giant movie, but one guy was kind of controlling it all. And so you had this auction where, there were some chalices and whatnot, but all of the swords, there was a real direct line of tracing. And obviously what we know about that movie was there were X number of heroes and there were a lot of stunts. And it feels like it was like the last time there was a giant movie that was kind of kept under control. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking about that concept. There's not been a lot of Lord of the Rings pieces, private or otherwise, where you're kind of going, is that real? I'm not sure. It's always like, oh, that's the axe that was from the contest.
Although somebody came out a couple of years. Do you remember that? Somebody came out a couple of years ago with those fake Lord of the Rings swords. They circulated, the photos of them circulated. They were trying to move them. They were the half swords. So they were chopped off and they were said to be digital effects swords that you would use. I mean, we use them now. I mean, back then that was a new technology, but now to do a stunt that would have used to been done with a retract sword that were you'd stab somebody and the point
right. It would go and you now just
stunt
do it with
guys
a half
don't
sword.
want that anymore because it's dangerous. If the thing doesn't retract and somebody falls, it could be a big problem. Even though it's a prop sword, you could still get impaled on it. So we do now when we do close quarter battle or beheadings, which those do exist in House of the Dragon.
We use that for a lot of the beheadings on Veep, but go on. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. The half lipstick container. Yeah. And so it's essentially it's about it's the sword and the hilt. It's the proper prop made with about 10 or 12 inches of blade on it. It's just flat on the top, and it has you often see VFX tracking tape, green, orange tape, something at the top, and they do the action with the sword. And then they draw in the blade in post, so it's perfectly safe for all the actors. You can do the stunt and all that. It's really, really cool. Anyway, 3 of these swords showed up from Lord of the Rings, and it was like, did that technology exist even back with Return of the King with all the digital effects that they were doing? It seems like that was pretty cutting edge. And when they came around, I had the advantage of I worked with the special effects guy from Lord of the Rings who was on Colony. He was our local dude who was an LA guy that had moved out to New Zealand because he found love or whatever out there. So he ended up working on Lord of the Rings and then The Hobbit. So he did 10 years of cruise shit in New Zealand, and then came back to LA and whatever. And I talked to him, Richie, this great guy, I talked to him all the time. I showed him these photos and I was like, do you remember these existing on Lord of the Rings? And he went, it's been a long time, but I don't think he was basically like, I don't think the technology lines up with the time. It wasn't quite right. And then we dug deeper. We got higher resolution photos of the swords. And sure enough, the person that had chopped the blades off of the replicas to do the defrauding did not cut deep enough so that you could still see the stamp from the Noble Collection or United Cutlery.
Fantastic.
That was still on it. So it was a clever ruse, but not quite clever enough. And those did the rounds. And thankfully, nobody I know of actually bought them. I think they sort of got found out, and the word spread pretty quickly. But
clearly it spread quick enough that I never even heard it. But that is fascinating.
Yeah,
but even
within the last 5-6 years,
right? But even that, they went out of their way to kind of create this other thing. Anyway, I felt like I guess where my main point was that Peter Jackson did a pretty good job.
That's why everybody loved these things when they showed up, because
they were
everybody
like nothing
said,
anyone ever seen.
Who's faking the half digital effects sword?
That's smart. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I guess that just speaks to the larger problem, which is big money,
big assholes.
Yeah. And I don't know, at this point, these things, so much stuff, I know there used to be this idea that like in an auction, like, I can't put that in an auction. What if George Lucas finds out or whatever that is? And I don't know, at this point, these days, I don't know. I don't think people are getting in trouble for putting things in auction. I mean, they may feel weird about it, like, it was a gift and I don't want to put it in. Yes, exactly. But I guess where I was going with this is, and one of the funny accusations, of course, was that we were shilling for auction houses to end private deals. But what I will say is the following.
Speaking, Dave, we should do our live ad read at Heritage Auctions about how private deals are bad.
Are we supposed to? I guess we should do the second half. Oh, no, the second half of the show is brought to you by Prop Store. Prop Store, we were supposed to probably say that about 20 minutes ago.
Don't do private deals. PropStore.com.
Prop Store, don't do private deals. But where I was going with it is, look, I don't think people are, this is a crazy thing to say. I think a lot of people, the reason a lot of props have been going into auctions is auctions are where things can go crazy. So a seller wants something to go crazy. So I don't know, like if you're being offered like something from like, I don't know, like an old movie 30 years ago, like why aren't they putting it in auction? What's the reason? I mean, again, just what are those questions? Again, it's just like, I know you want the deal. You want it to be right. You want it to make sense. But at some point you kind of go, why? I don't know.
I want to believe.
Questions. Yeah, I want to believe. Yeah, exactly. We should get that for everybody. Little X-Files posters.
Well, that can be our one of our next T-shirt backs, Dave. We need to re-up our T-shirt order and put something new on the back, so I don't walk around with my own name on my T-shirt.
Private deals.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, I got no great answer. I'm just fucking sick of it, is the honest answer. Although a friend of ours wrote me, I'll read you the note because you'll enjoy it. Hold on, let me find it really quickly. Yesterday, 6:18 p.m. I won't say the person's name. Blank is curious what you're looking to sell the fake Jyn Erso gun for.
That's very good. Was that an actual? Was it a legit question?
That's a real one. Yeah, that's a real one. I don't know what I'm looking to sell it for. I will say the person that wants to buy it, I do believe would hold on to it. It does. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not going. Certainly, I'm not selling it as real, but I do think about what happens down the line. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I think look, I think it's identifiable at this point that it. If someone tried to take it to an auction house, they would very quickly go, "Oh, that's not real." Whether or not they would remember it as the one I had or not, I don't know. But I feel weird about the idea of letting those into the universe in general. You know what I mean? Like having sort of discovered it, like what do you do with it? Ugh, that's a whole other thing. Again,
I mean, if there
even
was
if
a way
I
to
sell
like
it as a replica, it's still,
radio tag it or 3D scan it or something, and mark it as a, mark it as a fraud.
Again, me trying to do the right thing, but what does 6 guys down the road do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the right thing in this case is like it's actually funny, Dave. I'm going to bring this back to whiskey. You ready? There was a whole campaign a couple years ago. Yeah. I know you're waiting. We're 50 minutes into the broadcast. There was a campaign a couple of years ago by Buffalo Trace, which makes Pappy Van Winkle, the famous,
Yep.
hard to find, can't get it, too much money on the black market, secondary market, not really black market. It's the whiskey, the American bourbon whiskey that everybody wants. It won this big award about 10, 15 years ago, and then went nuts and nobody can get it. And there are like 4 or 5 different flavors of it, 10 year, 12 year, 15, 20, 23. And they're all increasing levels of crazy in terms of cost. And just as as an example, the 20-year-old, I think, retails at $250 a bottle. If you find it on the secondary market, you're talking about now $4,000 to $5,000 and up going for that. So because there's money to be made, what was happening where people were filling old Pappy bottles with new juice that was not Pappy, and then sealing it up and doing the thing, and then selling it on the auction sites or on the Facebook groups or whatever. They were doing the same thing.
Yep.
So there was this whole campaign that Buffalo Trace ran. It was actually fairly successful. It was a social media campaign. I forget what the call to action tagline was, but it was basically smash your bottle. Finished bottle of Pappy. We know you want to collect it. You want to show that proud trophy of, I had a 20-year-old and I finished it. But they're like, the service to the whiskey drinking community is actually smash that bottle, break the bottle, make it unusable as a replica. And I think this comes back to you, Dave, is the true service to do here is throw that thing in the shredder, throw it in the fireplace, and then sell the melted one. And then that's something to do. And on a plaque that says this is fake.
Well, that's, our
hashtag no private deals.
That thing that crazy, whatever it was, the fake bunker bomb. I don't know. I guess we wrote on it, this is fake, but we should point out, by the way, that Ryan's signature on that is fake. Bart faked that signature. So it's a fake with a fake signature on it. So congratulations to the winner. We have to get that too. But anyway, that's not the point. But the point is
the shipping label is also fake.
The box does not quite exist yet, but we're going to get that to you. We are going to get that to you. But the point being is sort of like, okay, at least the fake says this is fake. I guess somebody could get that off if they really tried. I don't know. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. And I think it's more interesting as what it is now than.
Well, now I think it's actually a Stuffed Dreams Are Made Of sort of original prop, if that makes
an artifact.
Any sense. Yeah.
The greatest movie podcast of all time.
It's just depressing. Not our podcast. This whole thing. Out. It just sucks. Yeah.
Don't be dicks. That's our message. Yeah. And do your research and write us. I mean, we can't always authenticate your props.
We're not going to authenticate your props. Maybe we can steer you in the right direction. Business. But we can at least point you things. But also, again, use your eyes. I do like that a lot. Use your eyes. I only make eyes and use them. If something looks wrong, it is wrong. I don't know. It just like there's a logic to it all.
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of these things now, and I've seen evidence and photos, and people, God bless them, have more time and dedication and honestly better eyes than I do, have done the work, and the work is just not very good. Frankly, it's just not very good. It sucks, actually. and it's done to get people that don't know what they're looking at and don't actually do the extra layer of research. So it's, I'm not saying these are all like that. There are some very good fakes that have been made out there, and there is an intent to defraud. And there's been some weird stuff going on with vintage films recently, and that stuff has been rather disturbing.
Unfortunately, as we are sort of seeing, which is to say, is now that we're getting into the world of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 props. It's I can make something for a couple $100 and roll roll the dice. We are going to see it more and more and more, which puts it sort of on all of us a little bit. And again, this goes back to, when a catalog comes out, you see something and you think it's wrong. Let them know. Let the catalogs know. The companies, our various sponsors, they want to know. They're not looking to sell a fake. Believe me, they're not looking.
No, they don't want to be caught up in all that and have it affect the name of their company. And no, they don't. And that's actually your best way to root this out, because hopefully, if somebody has consigned enough of these fakes to places, eventually their name goes on a list. They end up with the bad check at the bodega, they get their names stuck up there in a little photo, and then they can't consign anything more. And that's really the way to just cut out the problem at the source.
That feels like it would be the ultimate punishment,
to stop spending money on these people. That's it. Is death by not elimination, but death by what? Shunning. Right, that was the way they used to do it back in the day. You just get shunned, right out of the village with you.
Yeah,
shunned.
Out of the village, like Highlander, right? They get out. Yeah. Just depressing, the whole thing. I don't know. It's just a funny. I guess it speaks to the success of the hobby, that with the success comes the bad. I guess there's no way of avoiding it. But
yeah, in a way, it's a feather in the cap of movie prop collecting.
Yes, exactly. That it's achieved a certain level of success that has brought it on. But
it's almost created an economy for spending the time to do.
Let me tell you this: in my
defrauding,
in my monkey radiator cap collecting community, there is no fraud. That's the one good news. Private deals, fast and furious, and you don't have to worry at all. It's a paradise. It's just a fucking paradise. Yeah,
of real monkey radiator caps that no one else wants.
Yeah, but no, there's two of us, and neither of us is ripping the other guy
trading back and forth.
Yeah, no,
but you will only sell them at auction, right, Dave? Because you're a shill, and
I put them in auction, and I bid on my own stuff, and then I buy them back. Yeah,
very good.
I do a lot of buying.
It's a volume game, right, for you?
Yeah. Neither Prop Store nor Heritage is offering that as a category quite yet. Yeah.
God bless you. Should we bring it home?
Yeah. Do we have anything else in conclusion? I'm not sure we have anything in conclusion. So I don't know if there's a game to be played. If you could have any fake prop that you've ever seen, what fake prop?
Oh, that's a good one.
What fake prop would you like?
That's actually, I it's not going to surprise anybody. I do have an answer for that.
All right.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was governor.
Oh, I knew this answer. Yep. Okay.
He kept. There was a Conan sword in his office, but everybody said, "Oh, it's the Conan sword." I think he used to make a big thing out of it's the sword from the movie. It was not the sword from the movie. It was actually very cool. What it was one of the original when Albion Armors, which filmswords.com, I think it still is. You can go Google this. They still make wonderful, wonderful real spring steel replicas of Conan's sword that were licensed, that were actually molded and made by Jody Sampson, who's sadly since passed away, the sword maker that made them for the movie. But he hand tooled all this stuff and and they're still making them from his kind of machine tools and everything. So the first 10 that were made sold for $10,000 each. And the thing that came with that was that Jody Sampson hand forged and hand ground the blade.
Oh wow! So the
for
full,
you. So it was
sword maker,
made at the forge in the
cool.
In the beginning of Conan, in the dark when the liquid steel is filling the mold and all that, and they're gorgeous. And I think Arnold was probably gifted one, and they came in this presentation box. And anyway, that presentation box is the one you always see in the governor's office. So there you go. As a fake,
that's great.
I would love to have that one. What about you?
I was going to say Jin Urso's gun, but I've already got that.
A slightly better one.
Yeah, just a slightly better one. I would take a fun Star Wars one. I'd take I would be thrilled with a Han and Carbonite in my office. Do you know what I mean? If someone was here's a fake one of those kind of a thing, I'd be fine with that.
Is there a mold floating around out there? Are those all just the sort of rubies and
I feel
Don
like
Post
people
and whatever?
Took the ones that used to be mass produced and then added electronics and did things to the sides and got better. I feel like it's been a work in progress so that it's become a good replica. And I'm not aware of anybody really selling them anymore where they're selling them as real. But I don't know. What would be
Is that prop in the archive?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen, yes, I've at least seen one of them. I don't know if there was more than one.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if the one I saw had the electronics. I think it did. It was there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of a good fake prop that would be fun to have.
Frogglaive?
But see again, that's a replica that I'd be okay with. I don't know, and I don't know if I have a good one that's as good as your kind of crazy. I like your Schwarzenegger story. What'd be a good prop? I'm trying to think if there's anything I ever chased where I ended up
I think
away.
there were fake ruby slippers being made back in the day when all of those
funny.
private pairs were changing hands. I mean, that would be cool just as an artifact from that time, a connection to all those guys.
I think a lot about having, much like Greg Jean did, like just having a Mark English. Do you know what I mean? Just to have one of the famous fakes. So maybe that's my best answer.
One of Greg Jean's famous
one of
boxes.
Greg Jean's sort of known fakes where he's like, this is a fake. It's a Mark English phaser. Just be kind of fun to have. And it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have for, like, God, if a real phaser ever showed up, to make sure it wasn't a Mark English, to have a Mark English that you could kind of compare it to.
Yeah.
So that would be something one way or another. So there's my answer, Mark English. So there you go.
Yeah. I'm changing my answer. I want an Iron Man helmet.
Okay. I'll sell you one privately.
Another one.
Hashtag private deal.
Yeah.
No, I've got 20 of them. From a guy.
I'll put it next to my real one because my real one's for sure real. Because I got a private deal.
Because you got it from me. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. It came with the con phaser.
It was a twofer. It was Khan's Iron Man helmet.
Yeah, I would like a real con phaser.
I'd like a real Iron Man helmet. I think I have one, but now I've got to double check it because I've actually been worrying about that, by the way.
Sure,
That's a separate discussion.
Yeah. Another podcast.
Kill myself. I got to bug someone about that because I got to make sure it's something. Oh, God, kill me.
Well, I have 2 people that I can send you to.
No, I know.
I have 3 people that I can send you to.
I do think it's beat up on the inside in a good way, but my Lord. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, get photos and take them.
Yeah.
They'll get an answer pretty quickly.
Oh, I don't want that answer, but I do want that answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, God, there's another show. Anyway, thank you all. I'm sorry this was so depressing, but I hope maybe you've listened and learned a little bit. Please write us. Tell us. We're happy to hear fake stories. We're happy to hear stories where you used your eyes. Tell us stories. We'd like to hear about it all. We love hearing from you guys. So please email us at
dreamsaremadeofpodcast@gmail.com.
and follow us at Props Podcast on all social media. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of YouTube channel. Subscribe to that, and please subscribe, like, and write a review. Give us 5 stars on all podcasts, wherever you do it, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever. But it really does help us if you subscribe and also give us a 5-star review. It's all algorithms these days, and it helps
Drive
us.
the algorithm, people. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We will talk to you soon. See you next week.